go around.
Oh.
The Red Museum is like a church.
Okay.
You walk in, I've never seen a museum.
I've been to the whole thing.
Yeah, but this, you walk in, it's got almost everything in there.
And then,
Is this where your parents were born too, and your grandparents?
no. My mom was born in Hazelhurst, Mississippi, and I believe my dad was born there also. And so they migrated to this area. They were married at a very young age, had babies real quick, and decided they wanted to get a divorce. Right, excuse me.
Right here.
Wow, what am I saying? Left. And as a result, the Quiney children went to live with our grandparents over in West Helena. Now that's different from Grandma Ferguson. This was my mom's, grandmother. Mother, excuse me. So we stayed there from West Helena. Then we went to Pine Bluff to live for a while. From Pine Bluff back to West Helena. And my dad was sort of jockeying us from station to station. He had a brother who lived in Pine Bluff. Also, his dad and mom were there. So on 3 different stints, we lived with my grandfather Quiney and Grandma Ida. Then we lived with Uncle Alvin. And I hate to tell you a story about Uncle Alvin. Uncle Alvin, Hitler was a piece of ice cream compared to my Uncle Alvin. Yeah, that's the type of man he was. But, and I always, as a very small child, I had it in my heart that one day I'll grow up and I will be able to stand to him eye to eye and tell him remind him how he treated us, growing up. But I had an opportunity to stand before him, but then he was lying paralyzed in a bed in Detroit. I drove to Detroit in 1957, and when I saw him, my heart just dropped, and I couldn't mention into that. But I'll tell you a quick story. While living with my uncle, and I was sharing this with my wife, and I just told her about this, I think it was last week. I don't remember eating one piece of meat in my uncle's house. Okay? Well, we ate vegetables. My Aunt Gracie would fix dressing. And when she would fix my plate, she would just crumble a lot of Wonder Bread in it. I guess the name of the brand was it back then. But I would sit there with my fork and I would pick out all of the cook items and I would leave the bread on the plate. And this would just enrage him, man. He was a mean guy. I mean, he's about the size of a toothpick, but brother, he was a mean guy. Well, anyway, but we survived. And there was a lady who who lived next door to us, somehow she found out how we were living and especially eating. So she gave my older sister Lily a large jar of Rex jelly. First time I'd ever seen Rex jelly. And when everyone was asleep during the night, she'd call us up to her bed. And that's what we'd eat, Rex jelly. Yeah, that's what we, every night we'd eat Rex jelly. But again, we survived. We survived, yeah.
Were you told any stories about why the family moved into the area?
Well, my uncle, I don't know why my uncle was out. Well, as young people, they lived in Pine Bluff. They were in the grocery business in Pine Bluff. But my dad left and came to this area. That's where he met my mom. But he remained there along with his dad. Then after my mom and my dad were married, they moved to the Ferguson area. Don't know why, but they moved there and made a home. But my grandma on my mom's side always lived in West Helena. So we would go and stay with them for a while. And she was a beautiful, all of my grandparents were really, really beautiful, really beautiful people. It was those Quiney men who were so tough, man. They were. I don't know. And I'm so happy that I really didn't develop the characteristics of my dad, my uncle, my granddad, or any of those people. I'm truly, because they were.
How long did you know your grandparents for?
Oh, I knew them all my life. I knew them all my life, but.
Did they tell you any stories about their childhood, growing up, and sort of their experiences?
Well, yeah, some. And especially my grandmother on my mom's side, they lived sort of on the farm, and I had an Aunt Ather who would play an organ. As young people, they had great lives. And again, like I said, they were from Hazelhurst.
Yeah.
But I really didn't get a chance to meet my grandma Babe on my mother's side people, other than the Aunt Atha. Okay. Now let me say this. As we go, there's a pillow down here. I would like for you to pause.
Okay.
And there's a story, a quick story I'll tell you.
Sure. Let me know where you'd like me to pause, and I will.
Okay. All right. Man, this is a rough. Woo. I tell you, Dr. Olson wanted me to come down here and bring Jennifer and all of them. And I said, Dr. Olson, I am not going to drive my car down there on that rough road. Just before you get to the house on the left,
Yep.
there are some pillows on the right that sort of grown up around them. I think you can see them. You can see them. You can see them. In 1919, during the massacre, the Miller family lost 3 sons right there. They stopped the train. What happened, the train would stop here and they would put water, old steam engines right there. And somehow someone knew they were on the train. They got them off the train and hanged them right there. And Judge Miller, who was a relative of theirs, is living in Helena now. And it's also Judge Miller, along with some other black leaders, who agreed that the monument that Solomon built should be in Helena. Okay. Now, I had a conversation with the Solomon brothers, and I expressed my disapproval of that monument being built in Helena. I said the action was in Elaine. That's where it should be, but they all agreed that it should be in Helena because Elaine didn't have any place to eat. And I said, that's the most foolish thing I've ever heard in my life. It wasn't about food. It was about something deeper than that. People who were trying to improve themselves for the families also. And then there were others who wanted to deny them that right. Okay? And that's why they were massacred. All right? But anyway, they were hanged right here to my right. Okay.
About what year was that?
1919. 1919.
As a part of the massacre?
Yes.
Separate to
No, that's part of it. All part of it. Yeah.
So this was during the 3 days.
Yeah, it just, the things from what I was told that happened, I guess it just developed so fast. And what puzzles me, most black churches on Wednesday evenings have prayer service, okay? So how did someone else know during that time they were doing something else? Okay? That always puzzled me. So that meant there was a spy or someone within the group who was going back telling what was going on. Okay? And there was speculation about who it was. I don't know. But it caused chaos. It caused chaos. And when I think about it, and I wasn't there, but when I heard the story from my grandfather, it was almost as if I made a transition. And I was right there. I could hear the people hollering. I could hear them crying, struggling, trying to get away from those who had come to destroy them. I could just hear it. And that those feelings have not left me yet. And my wife's grandfather telling how he was placed in incarceration at the high school just as we turn on this highway to the left. And he was compelled to bury many who were massacred. Yeah, he survived it. He survived it, to tell us about it. And yet, there are others who are fearful, and they, older American, black American, who just too fearful to talk about it. There aren't many left now, today. But those who are left just won't talk about it. They just won't talk about it. And the younger people whose parents or grandparents or great grandparents told them about it refuse to speak about it also. Okay, and that's what's so strange to me. That's what's so strange. To me, it's history. It happened, and you can't remove. You really can't remove when you really listen. And if you had been able to listen to my wife's grandfather talk about that, man, that would stay with you forever. Absolutely. It's almost as, no joke, it's almost as if you are actually there. And man, I don't know.
What were the relations between sort of your grandparents' generation and white folks who lived in the area? Did they tell you any story? What stories did they tell you about social relations between the groups?
Well, back then, let me tell you from this perspective. Back when I was a teenager, I would get these Reader's Digest, and I went to a section, and it said there was a time when the black man knew his place, and I really wrestled with that. What? And I wondered why Reader's Digest placed it there. But on the other hand, I can remember growing up in West Helena, and my grandma, Babe, her name was Viney Anderson, would send me to Helena to pay her bills, and I was just maybe 11 years old, and I'd have to catch the transit, West Helena Transit, and she taught me precisely where to sit on the bus, my entry, my exit, etc. That's in order that she didn't have to worry about me once I left home, because I had to walk a distance to where I caught the transit. And I could enter the front door, place my coin there, and she taught me that I had to go past the middle door before I could be seated. And I always did that. Okay. Now, the Reader's Digest said that was a time when the black man knew his place. And I associated that with what my grandmother taught me. Okay? It was designed that way. And so you just adhered to what you were taught. Yeah. But back during that day, you got along with the white people, my grands. If you paid your bill, if that was that, yes sir, you know. If and there was another thing, you did not look into the eyes of the white man, you know. You always showed obedience, okay? And if you did that, then you didn't have problems out of him, okay? And that's just the way he's gonna let you by. That's just the way it was back then. You knew when you went to the store, and you knew that you had to wait on being waited on, regardless the timing of your coming in. In fact, right there in Elaine, there was the Owl drugstore. And one Sunday afternoon, I had some friends who came down here and took me back. We were going to go to the movies that night, but we decided we wanted some refreshment, so we went into the Owl drugstore. And when you went into the drugstore, they had two color countertopping, marker tops, you know. The first one was laid with white, the second with black. Now you couldn't stop at the one that was white. You had to go back to the one that was black, and you could be served there. Okay, so once we received our ice cream, and they had tables, chairs, etc. in the drugstore pharmacy. So I said, well, hey, why don't we just sit here? And there were other Caucasians who were seated there, and they gave me a real good lesson that those chairs and those tables aren't for you. And I couldn't understand. Well, they aren't all filled, so why in the world can't I go and sit and enjoy my ice cream as they were? Well, they got me out, and once we made it to the car, then they gave me a lesson. Okay, and that's the way it was. That's just the way it was.
Can you sort of speak to where the white folks were from? Were they like, would you say like the majority of them were for generations here?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Could you discern like differences of their background and where they were from?
No, but the thing about it, what I noticed, I don't care where a white person came from. When he came to Elaine, he was in step with the rest of the white people. It wasn't something where he had to take a course, say you're supposed to do this, do that, do that. He was already in step, and that always amazed me. I don't care how they secured land, etc. But they named it Crumrod. Okay, all right. On down, Father. They built a store, and then where that the post is to our left. They built a store right in there. And we'd go there and trade, etc. And where I grew up, it's across the railroad. The house is no longer there. You know, all that has changed. But I'd walk from there to Elaine to see my wife. Yeah, man, that was... On the other side, there's these trees right here. Well, we had two churches here. They had an African American church right over there. It's no longer there. Right there to my left. And this is the other church, Precious Grove, where I was baptized in. Right there. Yeah. It still stands. It's active. I have an active pastor. Long time ago. Yeah. Now they're changing all the, there used to be houses all in there. Yeah. Yeah. This really is Ferguson. We are in Ferguson.
And yet there's nothing here.
No.
Like you said.
No. There's nothing here. And across the railroad, there's nothing but farmland, and there were houses all across there. Yeah. Now, actually, you can pull it into there, but with the postal office.
Post office?
Yeah. You notice that said the United States Postal Office, Crumrod, Arkansas, which isn't, because all of this in here is Ferguson. The property was owned by black people, and over the course of the years, they just lost it all. But here's what I didn't tell you when I was speaking there at the school. The Fergusons sort of had a feud going. They started filing lawsuits against each other, fighting each other. And when they knew anything, they had lost the property, and Caucasian owned every bit of it. They lost every bit of it. Every bit of it. And they were left with nothing. I really don't know how that was possible, but it happened. You know. And back then, there were people, I guess, a little shrewder than they were. And they took advantage of that opportunity to grab this property. Now, my stepfather, during the late 50s, and I guess maybe
we should get out and
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was being heard on the.
Do you attend that church?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Precious Grove.
What denomination?
Baptist. It's a Baptist.
But why
yeah.
is all that? What is all that behind it? What is?
Well, you know, as years went by, somebody owned it in the land, and they put what they want on it, you know.
Yeah.
But all of this was owned by black people.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as you can see, it was all owned by black people. There were the Shears who own a lot. We had I was trying to think of those names last night, and I had them. But anyway, it was possessed, owned by black people. And as I was telling the professor, when I was talking, I failed to tell you this. The Fergusons own, I don't know how much land, but what happened, somehow they began arguing and fighting among themselves. And as a result, through the lawyers, they end up losing everything. They owned everything, but when the fight was over, the dust was settled, somebody else owned it. And in the 50s, my stepfather employed Lawyer Baker, an attorney in West Helena, who was working on trying to get this land back. And he had worked for some time. So one night, he conveniently passed away. All of his papers were destroyed, they were done away with, et cetera, et cetera. And that's as far as it's been until Miss Jennifer showed up. You know, we don't know what happened to what he had been working on for us, for the family. But apparently someone knew about it, because the data which he had collected all disappeared. Everything disappeared. So, and I don't know any landmarks, whether the Ferguson owned this section or that section or that section. And after all, I was a teenager, you know.
But they own the gin.
Yeah, they own the cotton gin. But again, they lost everything.
Are we taking a picture of all of us in front of the Crumrod sign? Is that what we're doing?
This is not cornball. I don't know why they got cornball up here, but this is totally not cornball.
No, it isn't.
That's how they change stuff.
Yeah.
Crumrod is a little old spot right up there that even back in the day had people there, but it was small. Like Mr. Quiney say, they just come in and they just change. This is not Crumrod.
No.
This is Ferguson.
Absolutely.
Is there a Crumrod? Was there a Crumrod?
It was a Crumrod.
Yeah. What I pointed out to the left when we were coming.
Okay.
Well, the big house, that area, that was Crumrod, and these people again were from Memphis. They were attorneys, and by the way, I said earlier, their relatives are still living, and they're still attorneys. They're in Memphis. Yeah.
So Mr. Quiney, he's right. It's like they trying to wipe out Ferguson because you used to have a mark in him that said Ferguson. And
right across
they
over there.
pulled it up and made this Crumrod too. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like they always do. They try to make stuff advantage, but we know. And eventually, if you look at the map, eventually it'll go off the map. When they start making
Rasho right now, that construction, they
Yeah.
took the sign out. The sign
Yeah.
is now gone.
Yeah.
For Rasho.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who still carries the last name Ferguson? Related?
No.
I remember the last Ferguson stayed right here. Mr. Sidney and Miss
Sidney,
Florence.
yeah.
Sidney and Miss Florence. And
Yeah.
after them, I don't know.
Yeah. They've all passed away.
And I don't think they had no kids.
No, they did not. They did not. Mr. Joe didn't have kids. Simon didn't have children, and so it's just the lineage is just gone, you know. And so, and I guess I'm well, other than my brothers and sisters, you know, we're the only one who are left, and I'm not sure that my brothers and sisters have the knowledge I have of what went on back then, because they left home quite early. And actually this was all resurrected because of my wife's grandfather. And that made me
What was his name?
Pink Brandon. But he had 12 first names.
He had what?
12 first names.
12 first names?
Yeah,
Pink
yeah.
is not necessarily his first name. I love that name though.
Well, but it was Pink, Hattie. So he was raised by 12 aunts. And all of them gave him a portion of their name. Yeah, but he was an educated man. He went to Alcorn College over in Mississippi, and he came over here at an early age, and never went back to Mississippi. Yeah.
So would any of you walk from here all the way to Elaine to see your girlfriend or your boyfriend?
Maybe if I was younger.
Not in the summer. Good workout.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was really a short distance. Trust me, it was a short distance.
You
Yeah.
all see the 3 butterflies that keep landing on it.
Maybe that's a message. Maybe that's a message.
Look, that's love when they do that. That's good
Every one
look.
of them.
That's what they say though. People say.
Yeah.
They look
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah, that's
interesting.
Well, yeah, this was the store up here. This was Ferguson store.
Yeah.
Used to be right there on this slab.
Yeah.
And on any given weekend, Friday, Saturday, it probably was over 200 people. You couldn't. It was cars that parked all on side the road. You know.
Yeah.
So this was the town part.
This was
Yeah.
the place where everybody hung out at. And I can remember when I was a kid, I usually couldn't go in there, but I could look in there sometime. And they had this little jukebox and just an open floor, and that's what everybody listened to all night. They
See,
did
I can
that.
imagine you
Yeah.
peeking in the windows.
Yeah. Because back in the day, if you was a kid, you didn't have no rights on nothing. You
No.
had to do what your parents said do. But
Yeah.
there used to be a lot of people here.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
And you know something? I had my first drink of beer at Ferguson store. And really, I don't blame myself for it. I blame Harry Carey for it.
I was wondering if you could sort of speak to the conditions under which the town was abandoned.
Well, because a lot of the people died, and then the farmers started using larger equipment, and so they just left. They just left. They just picked up and left.
A lot of them died. A lot of them.
Yeah.
You got to understand, if you own land or something, and you own your own and doing your own thing, and then somebody just press you out of it, you know, either you have just pack up and leave, or some people just deal with it.
Yeah, and you know, and the thing about it, I'm sure you've seen the old Western movies where someone wanted what you had, and they conveniently found you dead.
Yeah.
That was part of it. That was part of it. Yeah.
And then you couldn't, it's another thing, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to say this. It's another thing, they come up with all these different kind of chemicals, you know, and then they didn't need people, they wouldn't hire people. And that's forced people to leave, you know. If you look at these fields, they ain't growing up with weeds. Won't nothing grow in them but beans or whatever they put out there. It's Roundup ready. You know, nowadays they don't need, they can take a tractor and you can work all day because the tractors drive themselves. All you gotta do is turn them around. They don't need you. You just turn them around and they just go. You know, so everything worked by GPS.
Yeah.
So there was a lot that drove people out. It wasn't just that, but the people that own the land drove the people out at the end of the day.
Yeah. And you know, there was one Indian family here, south of us. I don't know if you remember them or not, but he farmed land south of us. I don't know what happened to him.
Oh.
What's
Yeah.
their name?
Excuse me?
Do you know his name?
No.
Are we gonna take a picture or no?
Yeah. Let's take a photo.
We're gonna take a picture of our face. Hold
You know,
on.
rewrite it.
Mr. Tom.
Make sure, just put
That way.
it if you can.
Well, you want to edit it? We should do it on Photoshop. We should put Ferguson on Photoshop.
Hey, man, that would be great. That would be great.
Mr. Quiney is the picture, man. I don't know.
That would be great.
Let's.
Yeah.
I feel like there's nothing positive.
Well, I think what it does.
Well, we could write a description about what happened and why it's.
It might be easier just to Photoshop it. Oh, you can take it?
We're not sure.
Mr. Quiney and Mr.
Real.
Okay. You've got a wide angle. Am I in your way? Okay. Can you see
I can see.
everybody behind me?
Yes, sir. All right. What is this area called? This portion? It's not Crown Road. What is it?
Ferguson.
Ferguson. Okay, so Ferguson. Hey, Ferguson. Okay.
Thank you.
It's okay. I think So what kind of crops are these?
That's soybean.
Really?
Yeah, that's soybean.
Do it, you could see the little pods.
Yeah.
They're small right now, they're not ready. They're you move on.
Yeah, that's what they put in. Sardines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's
They do a lot.
put that oil. Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Animal feed.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
And this-
house out there?
They put
Was
on
that
the
house
check,
built
it said,
recently, or is that a?
No, that's an old house.
Oh wow!
Tyler
That's
or
an old
something?
house.
That land?
It looks
Yeah.
abandoned.
Is that all the way
Yeah.
up to here still? You think?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
probably, okay. I don't know if Tyler Griffin owns this, because this is used to all these black owned, like all of this.
Right.
But you skip on down maybe 3 miles, and then they start again and going all the way to La Quinta Circle, Stowe Lake, Deerfield, you know, on all of that.
But it was black owned down
Yeah,
there
but black
also.
owned down there too.
Yeah.
Those are pretty wealthy people, you would say?
It's just people that, you gotta listen to the whole story, that when people were trying to get crop loans, they wouldn't give them crop loans. That's how even the government forced black people out of their land. You know, you got a buddy that work in the, it's like now, like we were saying a while ago, people land that come up for, you know, they don't pay their taxes. And it's a little amount of money.
Right.
But they'll put it in there and you don't know it. You know, who pick up a paper or who read that stuff now? You know, young people on the phone, and we don't hardly get the paper, but they'll put your land in there and you can be staying on this land. And somebody come in and buy it and it's gone.
Right.
You know, that ain't right.
I
you know?
agree.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we just, if Mr. Quincy see me and I got some land in there, he said, well, Jane, they got your land up. You better, you know, do something about it, you know. But it's just the way they force people out their land.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
It was just, you know, it's to me, it's always been strange how some people have been smarter than others. I'll put it that way. Yeah. And white people network. You know that to be a fact.
Yeah.
They network and they work with each other.
Right.
Yeah. Unless they dislike each other.
Well, they don't
And
like
then-
each other. They still work with each
Well,
other.
they will. Yeah, they will. They will. Yeah, they will. And it just, but it's painful when you think about all of the precious lands that that's been lost here.
Right.
And
Rich land.
yeah,
That's right. And
Yeah.
it shouldn't be no reason why all these people have property, because if they own their land, either they could rent it out to somebody,
Right.
or they
Sure.
could farm it themselves.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
But when you get all your stuff taken from you, what can you do?
Yeah.
Either you stay here and suffer and hand out to the handout, or you get up and leave. You know, a lot of people just left.
Right.
yeah.
You know.
And you know, they spoke about the levee. The levee is east of us.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you can see it from here.
I
Yeah,
did
you
see
can-
it
You
from
did
the
see
road.
it?
Yes, sir.
Did it? Well, a lot of that was built by Africans,
Oh,
African American.
I believe it.
Yeah. And but
Anthony Davis about that.
Yeah.
He got a good story on that, because some of his people, Anthony Davis. I don't know if you met him. I'll get you hooked up with him.
Yes, sir. That'd be great.
yeah.
He can tell you a lot about that.
It seems like the land was cleared, the levees were built, it was prepared to be profitable soil, and then it was just stolen from the
Yeah.
people who did all the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, stolen and taken.
Yes, sir.
It's taken. And I remember the house where I grew up was west of here. It's above Precious Grove Church, going to the west, and it was up on high pillows. That was because of the 37 flood. Most houses were built up, you know, after that.
Yes, sir.
But we left. They tore it down and even killed the peach tree we had in the yard. Yeah.
What a shame.
And you don't see it no more, but it was
No.
some really, really nice houses here.
Yeah.
I'm talking about really nice houses.
Yeah.
And ever since this land grab and stuff started, they've been tearing houses down ever since. I can't exactly give you a date when they started, but I'm talking about every time somebody moved, they tear the house down.
Yeah.
I done saw them tear brick houses down,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because they just want everything to be gone.
I don't need you anymore. I don't need you.
Right.
I don't need you.
Right.
Yeah.
And these people here managed to hold on to some of their land, you know, and everybody over there black, but that's black owned.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That-
Cali C, you know, Miss Collins owned, see where that trailer house is?
Yes, sir.
Both of those trailer houses are black owned.
Yeah.
All right. And that property in there. But Miss Callie C, the elder, has passed away. So I guess some of her children own it now. Yeah.
And they own from here all the way back. A lot of that is owned all the way back
Oh,
to
wow.
the levee,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Would you say that's the way that most of the properties were along here? They owned all the way back?
some of them did. And you got fields that have, I know Mr. Sidney, he owned all the way back to the levee. Was his house out, Mr. Quiney?
Yeah.
I think he
Yeah.
owned all the way back
Yeah.
to the levee.
Yeah.
And then you had the shield after
Yeah.
him.
Charlie Carpenter was down on down, and he owned to the levee also.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but this was all black owned.
Yes, sir.
All of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's a shame when we think about it, man.
It is.
Yeah.
But thank y'all for coming out and showing us.
Well, surely. We'll just go back to Florida and tell the story.
We will.
Yeah. And maybe one day.
One day.
Yeah.
Supported in some way. So now I'm wondering, Mr. Quincy, I study immigration from the late Ottoman Empire to the United States, and I noticed that as we were driving down, the home that you mentioned is located in Cromrod, had an Israeli flag below the American flag. Do you know where that family is from, or do you know that family?
I know them, but not really personally.
Okay.
Yeah. like I said, they have family who's living in Memphis now.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that family's not related to the family that set up Crumrod, right? That family.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they got, but they were so wealthy. So it's a matter of them saying, "I want this name Crumrod," and the people who were living here would not say no. Okay, because they spent a lot of money here.
Here's the house.
Yeah.
And there's the flag.
Yeah.
They're also University of Arkansas fans, apparently.
Yeah. No, at one time the Williamsons lived there. Yeah. Yeah. Now they have 2 daughters who live in Elaine now. Mm-hmm.
Because of the massacre and thereafter, the aftermath of it, would you say that a lot of the residents that moved out moved to Helena and moved to West Helena? No.
They went farther than that.
Okay.
A lot of them went north, and Chicago was a base for a lot of black people who left here.
Okay.
Yeah, and Detroit. Yeah. But here's what puzzles me. We were over in Canada at one time. And now while I was talking about the store was right there to the right. Okay. Black people were in Canada. So I'm wondering, why did they leave Canada and come back to the U.S.? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess I could speculate. This is not my area of expertise. Perhaps some of our students may have some information on that to chime in. But my sort of rudimentary knowledge is that after the end of the Civil War and Reconstruction, there was some hope for a new sort of life to be had here.
Yeah.
But that's all I could add to the conversation.
Yeah.
I do know that in the early 20th century, a lot of that hope went by the wayside because of such events as occurred in Elaine. And,
Sure.
There was the mass migration, as you point out.
Yeah.
To Chicago.
Right. And and go us the sign that's at the Legacy place. It says before Tulsa that was Elaine. And after all of that was done away with in Tulsa, and again it amazes me, how can you go in and just wipe out a people? But it also amazes me how Russia can go in and wipe out a people, and the whole world is watching, and no one is speaking about it. That's strange to me. Yeah. But they were doing quite well, in Tulsa. But it was envy, It was just envy. So, and someone other than they who came in to destroy them knew about it. I mean, government officials. All right?
Yeah.
And they plotted to destroy them, and they did. And wasn't really anything done about it, And that's what's so sad. That's what's so sad. When you can go in and wipe out a people and the world will turn their head and say, I didn't see it, or I don't know anything about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that happening on both sides, right? Happening both in the black community here, and also happening in the white community in Helena and other places, like not talking about it. No. Trying to erase it, from memory.
Yeah, well, you can talk to numerous white who said it never happened.
Right.
Well, man, how can you say it never happened? And here, my grandfather was a part of it.
Right.
So, and I would that one day, and I don't know the instrument name, and you know it, that could come in and find
the grave sites.
Yeah, the grave sites. But we haven't been able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different ways that can be done, and a lot of sort of archaeologists work in doing that and using that technology to discover grave sites like that.
Yeah.
So that technology is certainly out there.
Yeah.
So as far as you know, have there been any discovered grave sites?
Well, they've been pointed out, but there really aren't any markers or anything like that. I was talking to a professor from University of Arkansas at Little Rock, I believe a Dr. Mitchell. Papa Pink said that during that time, when after that began, there were people coming across the Mississippi, or attempting to come across the Mississippi, to be a part of this. Well, those who were here in Arkansas found out about it, and they positioned people down on the Mississippi, and they would sink those boats when they got about middle ways the Mississippi. So Dr. Mitchell asked me, so well, how can you prove that? I said, I can't prove it, but somehow these people were registered somewhere, just as people are registered over here. And if Harry has been voting for 50 years, Joe, Bob, and Gene, and all of a sudden they can't be found, well, something had to happen to them.
Right.
Yeah. But he doesn't really believe that happened. Now, he's a black man.
I was wondering if you could speak sort of to the politics in this county, like who do people generally vote for here, and is there any particular family or politicians who have had a long presence in politics here?
Well, the Hickeys have had a long longevity, and he finally died. But you know that we are a red state. Yeah, we're a red state. And generally, black people will vote Democrat. White people will vote Republican. And Trump's press secretary has filed for gubernatorial position. And I'm sorry for to say she's gonna win. She's gonna win. And yet she's gonna bring all those Trump-isms to Arkansas. And Sarah Huckabee. Her dad was governor for a while. Yeah. But we aren't going to be able to generate enough votes to stop her from becoming governor. And to me, yeah, he's gonna let you by. Yeah, now Dale Bumpers was a Democrat, and I think he did 2 terms. Bill Clinton did, I believe, 2 terms. And by the way, you know, my wife and I were invited to a dinner with Mr. Clinton while he was governor. And as we walked, we just walked and talked from around the group. And I told him, I said, Mr. Clinton, he said, what is it? I said, you've been governor of Arkansas long enough. And he sort of looked surprised. I said, don't run for governor anymore. I said, your time right now is the president of the United States. He said, no. I said, yeah. I said, now let me tell you why. Among African Americans, they would see you in the mode of the Kennedys, and you would be a shoo-in. And he said, I said, I'm telling you the truth. And sure enough, within, I'd say 2 weeks, on the Capitol steps, he announced he was going to run for president. Yeah, absolutely.
And what about locally here in Elaine, Helena? What is sort of the party affiliation? Who is in power now and has been?
Right now, Smith is mayor of Helena, West Helena, but it really, in the past, 8 years or more, they've had African Americans who served in that position. But in Elaine, there's never been a black mayor. Even though I understand a young lady has filed a petition to run, but
what are the demographics in Elaine?
I'd say I believe we have a few more black people in Elaine, but I don't believe all of them are registered, and that's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, but you know, I managed a retail business, a Bill's Dollar Store. I don't know if you're familiar with that name or not. We had 460 stores at the time, and I stayed with them 14 and a half years. And each time that position came open, someone would always come to me from the Caucasian side of town, not from the black side of town now, and tried to get me to run for mayor, but I just wouldn't file. I would not file. And even now well, I think you need to file. I said, I've had enough.
What held you back from not filing earlier?
Well, the thing about it, I worked the 14 and a half years at Bill's Dollar Store, and my hours were excessive. Okay, and I felt I couldn't really do an adequate job. Then after that, I worked 14 and a half years as a lab technician for the Mohawk Rubber Company, and my hours were extra extensive, you know, because there were weeks when I worked 100 hours, you know, and I just felt I couldn't do a good job being mayor, then being a family man, and that was really it more than anything else. I felt I really couldn't be a family man and hold that position, you know, as mayor of Elaine. But they tried tirelessly for me to file. But again, I said it came from the Caucasian side of town, not the black side of town. No. And from there, I worked 14 and a half years. I was the adult coordinator of the Ferguson County Developmental Center over in West Helena. And we worked some excessive hours, and we worked with mentally challenged individuals. So, actually, you know, and I tell this, man, there's a station I listen to that comes from Mississippi, and it says that all super moms don't wear capes. And that's what I say when it comes to my wife. She doesn't wear a cape, but she's a super mom. She went to the ball games. She was just there for our family when I was off working, and there were times when I was, and especially when I was working for Bill's Dollar Store, they would send me to Jackson, Mississippi. They would send me to just places, and it was my wife who was there. You know, the next turn left is my wife. It was my wife who was there to hear about what happened at school today. Keith wouldn't take off his cap for the principal, and then when I finally got home, I'd have to, you know, take care of the business. Now, this is a new school, but my grandfather said he was incarceration in the school right there. The old school set why this one is right now. And he had to help bury those who were massacred. Yeah, right there.
How long were they imprisoned in the school?
Well, it wasn't for what, 3 days, 4 days, something like that. Yeah. Well, I hope some way I enlighten you on some things.
Good. Well, thank you very much. We're going to interview you further.
Oh, okay.
But I
okay.
appreciate it.
All right.
I really appreciate you taking
Sure.
the time and showing this Ferguson and keeping the memory alive of that area. It's so important.
Yes.
It's a complete
Okay.
erasure of it, and it lives in your mind, and now it lives in the minds of everyone else.
Yes, yes. It's permanently planted there. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank
Truly,
you.
yes.
You walk in, I've never seen a museum. Yeah, this, you go in, it's got everything in there, just like you do. What do you mean? You go in, you fly.